Hey, Shane.
Yeah, man.
How you feeling?
Good.
Man, that's nuts.
Yeah, it's not a fun experience.
Worse than a hangover?
I haven't had one of those in many years, so there.
Man. Hey, I talked to that girl you sent my way a couple times. I can't remember her name for the life of me right now.
Carolyn.
Carolyn, yeah. She's a good girl. Her background's just going to be tough to find something.
Yeah, I think the financials don't match up to what she's looking for either.
That is 100%. And I tried to explain that to her. Seems like she might be a good recruiter, though. She's pretty, she's got some tenacity.
That she does. That she does. For sure. If it works out great, if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I felt bad. I tried to explain to her, and a lot of people don't understand that, it's no different than if I was to send somebody or Evan was to send somebody to you guys. They might be the best thing ever, but if they've been out of the business a couple of years, you don't want to pay a fee unless once in a while I'll pull a mulligan and say, listen, you gotta trust me on this one, but it doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
And I was like, they're not going to pay me for you. They're not. So, oh well.
She'll find something.
Yeah. You have been
Your background keeps going away.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, someone in my office is trying to use my computer,
Oh, nice.
and I'm at home, and
Nice.
no fans at the Masters.
Oh, did they just announce it?
Yeah. It's out of control.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts right now. Evan, I'm actually interviewing somebody Evan sent me late this afternoon. I've opened up some positions based on lack of performance by current people who don't appreciate what they have right now.
Yep. Hold on a second. John, can you hear me? John, you're on my computer or something. You got to get off my account.
We're not. Sorry, Thursday and Friday lunch only and Sunday brunch. Sorry, guys.
John, log off, please. Thank you. Hey, Doug. You're muted.
Myself here. Hey guys, how are
Hey.
you?
What's going on, man? How are you?
How are you, Shane? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So did-
Anybody see me?
No, I cannot see you, Mark.
Yeah, I don't think this camera's working.
Maybe log off and log back on.
Okay.
Or try your phone. So did you get up there and go to Max that day?
I did. I did.
They did.
Been back twice since.
Have you really?
In Greensboro?
Yep.
Nice. Spent a lot of time in I was in Greensboro Monday. I did an employee roundtable. So
How are they liking How are they liking things there?
let's say I've opened up some positions. We've got the inmates are running the asylum, which is never.
I felt a little bit of that there.
Yep.
I felt like the manager that I met was probably had been an employee at one time and got bumped up, and he was just like one of the crowd. There was nobody directing traffic. It was great, but there was nobody directing traffic.
100%.
Morning, Mitch. All right, Mark. Can you hear me, Mark?
I can hear you. I don't have any video.
Yeah, you might want to. I hate to do it, but you might want to just use your phone.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion.
Please hold.
Please hold.
There we are
Can you
again.
hear me, Scott?
I can hear you fine.
Great.
So are you in Columbus or where are you?
I am.
Man,
I am in Columbus. Dark day here. No college football, so we don't know what to do with ourselves here.
well, that social media is blowing up. It's like it's the one year that Michigan can't lose.
That is true.
Yeah,
Harbaugh's got that.
man. And now we got Nebraska who thinks they're going to be able to play anyway. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah.
Just a mess.
Yep. We should do the same, whatever it is.
Well, I watched an interview this morning with the Notre Dame coach, and they firmly believe they should be playing, that they're keeping everybody safe. And what's the difference between that and, being going home and traveling? I don't know. Hey, Mark. Maybe.
There he is.
Mark. Maybe. So Ted is not going to be on here for those of you that were here last time. Ted's having surgery today.
Right?
Not sure what it is, but didn't sound like it was too major, but it was the only day he could do it. He'll be back for part 3 when we talk about how busy everybody is. Mark, can you hear us? Well,
Technical difficulties.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
well. Chris said he would be running late, which is fine. And then we have Maggie. Tell you what, I'm not sure what's going on with the divisions of her company that are doing arenas. I wouldn't.
I had we did a walkthrough of the baseball stadium here in Charlotte on Monday. They are doing everything they can. They've got frisbee golf in the outfield right now. They're doing movie nights.
Wow.
They're just trying everything they can to generate revenue.
They should be doing COVID testing too.
Yeah, that could be. The Spectrum Center, the baseball stadium here is only 10,000 seats. But the Spectrum Center here where the Hornets play, they're doing nothing. And I mean nothing, which is interesting. I'm wondering if the NBA is subsidizing some of that lost revenue.
Yeah, I don't know of any of the sports arenas that are, certainly in Miami, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Miami is still a hot zone for this pandemic. So I'm pretty sure they're not doing anything, but there are ways to kind of activate those areas. Like, for example, we have a primary coming up next week. Great way to socially distance and still have people be able to vote is in a 20,000 seat stadium.
Agreed.
But I don't think they're thinking in a progressive way that way. A lot of people are just kind of covering up, hiding, just trying to play defense, right?
Yep.
I'm worried about the winter right now.
Testing.
Hey, yeah, I can hear you.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, maybe you want to turn. Are you using the Wi-Fi from the restaurant? If so, you might want to turn that off. Just a thought, because it looks like you're right outside.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm outside. I think. Is everything good?
Yeah, it's pretty spotty though. You might want to turn your Wi-Fi off
Okay.
because it's probably trying to connect. Of course, the one guy from Sarasota.
Yeah,
In your neighborhood.
Down the street.
All right.
Well, you sound better, and we can't see you.
It happens.
It does.
Good thing all my kids are still asleep. Otherwise, my bandwidth would be slowed to a crawl too because of all
Oh,
the games that they're going.
tell me about it. I leave on Tuesday, take my oldest to college in Iowa. Not excited.
Lovely.
Yeah.
You drive?
No, I'm going to fly and take, I haven't flown since, but
There's an airport in Iowa?
say again.
So there's an airport in Iowa? Like a crop duster or something like that?
Funny, Doug, funny. No, it's a Allegiant Air, which is kind of like the equivalent of a Dodge Neon, uh,
Yeah.
from St. Pete to Cedar Rapids, and then a drive about 20 minutes. So it should be interesting. I've got a guy in the office whose sister's a nurse who's going to give us some of those N95 masks. And I mean, I look at the plane and there's like 6 people that are registered on this flight. If nothing else, it might get canceled. All right, Mark, can you hear us now better?
I can hear you. I can see myself.
There you go. Well, that's always good. So we're waiting for Maggie and Chris. I don't know where. I know Chris was going to be late. He's one of the 3 VPs from Miller's Ale House. Maggie is with Compass. Not sure where she is. We're going to start off. I did send you guys a list of the perspective questions, but for those of you that were on the call last time, it kind of just rolled into, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are things going? It should just be a real even flow dialogue. Got a lot of positive feedback on it. So we've got, as of 5 minutes ago, we had 197 people registered. So
That's great.
yep. I'm going to play the video that I sent most of you. It's about 2 minutes long. I think that'll be a good way to start, and we can discuss that. Mark, I don't know if I sent you that video or not. The Marcus Samuelson video. Good stuff.
We've lost it again.
All right, let's see here. So you guys should be able to see this, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Just a minute. All right. Well, I thought she was writing me, but she's not. So hit broadcast. It should work.
You're live, Scott.
We are live. I can see people joining now. So gonna give it just a minute to see everybody slowly get in. Morning, everybody. I'm gonna give it about 2 minutes to get everybody logged on here.
I got to get rid of that.
All right. Oh. You ready, Mark?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We're going to play a video here. A lot of you guys have seen from Marcus Samuelson in New York. And then we're going to discuss that. And then after that, actually, first we'll introduce everybody, and then we will discuss this video.
Restaurants are dying. Restaurants are dying. 4 out of 5 of our favorite independent restaurants may not survive this shutdown. And many have already closed their doors for good. This isn't a tragedy only because we're in a danger of losing the bakeries, the noodle joints, bars, and local diners that are the heartbeat of our community. Even more than that, independent restaurants employ 11 million people in the United States. The impact extends way beyond restaurants. Think of farmers, meal delivery workers, fishermen, truck drivers, beekeepers, wine growers, butchers, and everyone else in the supply chain. 5.9 million restaurant jobs, an estimated 4.5 of which are from independent restaurants, have vanished from the industry within a matter of months. If people don't eat out, then they eat less French fries, and then the restaurant buys less potatoes, the growers grow less, and the ones that keep growing will raise the prices. In most independent restaurants contributes upwards $760 billion to the U.S. economy. An average of 90% of the revenue get directly invested back into the local communities, paying workers, suppliers, rent, and property taxes. So is the restaurant industry so important? Why is our government ignoring it? Airline industry employs 750,000 people, and they got $25 billion in government assistance. Restaurant employs 15 times the amount of people and receive 0 in special assistance. Now they can't even pay their rent, even after the last stimulus program. And yes, it's true that restaurant chains may have the resources to make it through this, but independent restaurants, which make up nearly 2/3 of American dining industry, simply do not. One more thing, this isn't just about money. Food is our shared culture, our lifeblood. Food is what fosters our relationship and brings us together, especially during times of discomfort and adversity. So what can you do? Contact your member of Congress. Tell them that we need immediately dedicated federal funding for independent restaurants. Tell them that this is one of the most critical investments of our country can make to bring back our economy. Share this video to help save independent restaurants.
All right. Everybody off mute there. All right. So before we get started on talking about that, let's just go around the room a little bit and talk about who is on here. So why don't we start with Sheng?
Good afternoon, everyone. Sheng Skipper. I'm the president of Max Hospitality Group based here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And previous to that, I had experience with a company called LM Restaurant Group, and then 18 years with Del Frisco's Restaurant Group through their growth and public offering and everything else.
Okay. Mitch, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name's Mitch Miller. I'm Vice President of Ocean Prime. We're a division of Cameron Mitchell Restaurants based in Columbus, Ohio. I've been with the company for 24 years, and Ocean Prime, we started that concept in 2006 and currently have 16 restaurants across the country from coast to coast.
Awesome. Doug?
Hi there, everybody. I'm Doug Zeif. I'm the principal and founder of Next Hospitality Advisors and the Concept Gurus, hotel, resort, restaurant, and bar consulting agencies. And this is my second call with Scott. Scott and I have known each other for about 15 years, and I'm thrilled to be part of this. Can you stop clicking your pen mark, please?
Oh, sorry about that.
Thank you. Thrilled to be part of this webinar with Scott. Thanks.
All right. And Mark.
How you doing, guys? My name is Mark Woodruff. I'm a chef owner of Made Restaurant here in Sarasota, Florida. Been in the restaurant business my entire life. One of those guys that started rolling silverware at his parents' places when he was 9, and just had a passion for it my entire life. And very happy to be here and you know, collaborate with everybody.
Awesome. We will have Chris Frawley will be joining momentarily. He's the one of the 3 vice presidents of Miller's Ale House, and Maggie from Compass will be joining us in about 10 minutes. I will say just real quick, because Mark and Mitch are new, thank you for joining. I wanted Mark on the call because, first of all, he's in our backyard. His restaurant's about 2 blocks from my office, but he's been one of the key individuals in the Sarasota market for all the different changes that are going on, with whether it be through the county or the city, the courthouse. I mean, he's all over it. So we can get into that later, but just wanted to throw that out there. So,
Thanks, Rob.
yep, no problem. So that being said, curious what you all think about that video and how it relates to you. Feel free to just jump in. Anybody?
Really hit home with me. Honestly, I've watched it. I've shared it. You know, I really share his passion, and you know, just the facts alone of what's happening to our industry right now is absolutely out of control. And he's so right. You know, the first round of stimulus and PPP and it's not enough. Not enough. And we're just trying our best to hang in there as best as we can.
You know, it's not enough, but you know, the way that, and I don't mean to say, but the government doesn't view, even the society doesn't view restaurants as kind of a formidable professional organization. You know, I agree with everything that Marcus said in the video, and he's not wrong in any way, shape, or form. But you look, they're going to bail out the airlines. They got to bail out like 10 companies, right? There's millions of independent restaurants out here, some of which wouldn't know what to do, honestly, wouldn't know what to do with the funds if they got them. And I think there's a large percentage of these, not only politicians, but the people that are advising these politicians, that don't see our industry as a formidable, well-run, well-organized, detailed business. It's so variable anyway. And I think that they have trouble kind of wrapping their arms and their brains around how they can support us in a way that won't be like throwing money down the drain. Like I'm an independent restaurateur also. I own restaurants. I get it. We want all that stimulus. We want all that help. But if I'm on the other side of this too, I'm looking, how do you really administrate the distribution of all those potential funds to appropriate sources that are not just going to take them and do something else with them? At least the airlines are organized and run. I don't think they're great, but it's the hole at the bottom of the funnel is a lot smaller with the airlines than it is with the restaurant business.
True.
Yeah, I agree exactly, Doug. You know, there's such a wide span of going from the mom and pop all the way up to the larger corporations, as you say. And you know, I know the way we're looking at it, you know, it's our responsibility for a mid-sized independent company out there to raise our voice and make sure that our voice is trying to speak on behalf of everybody out there and see if we can help the industry. Our founder, Cameron Mitchell, has done his best to get on every format that he can, CNN and the likes, just getting the word out of this struggle that we all face to some degree.
You know, I like what he said about, you know, little independent restaurants wouldn't even know what to do with the money. And it's just me, and I have one other business partner through this whole thing. And just the paperwork alone in itself, you just look at it and you're just like, okay, what is this? Where do I even start? You know, and, you know, after multiple emails and back and forth, it was tough for us. It was really tough.
It was tough for me too. And filling out those forms were challenging enough. And then the forgiveness forms is going to be a whole nother necessary evil to kind of take on too, because none of us want to be trapped into having this this turn into a loan at the end of the day instead of being forgiven. So we got to do everything we can.
I think it's important, Mark, or something Scott you said about Mark. We all need to be active and have a voice in our community through our restaurant associations if we're members, and make sure that we're part of the solution of putting a plan together for some of those independents out there that might not survive this, or to your Scott, Doug, might not understand how to use that money. Maybe there's programs we can work on with our local restaurant associations to help some of those smaller independents utilize the funds properly. But I think it's going to take a collective effort from everyone to try to make this thing work the right way, or we are going to see more closures. I'm sure you all are seeing in your markets. I'm seeing it here in Charlotte. Lots of restaurants are starting to close.
I'll tell you what, at least our city is somewhat trying here in Sarasota. After, phase one and restaurants were allowed to reopen, it's kind of weird how our Main Street works. We have one end of Main Street that is pretty heavily saturated with and has the bulk of the restaurants on one end. And then we're down here at the east end. We're lucky to have a comedy club that's closed. We have a huge movie theater across the street from us that's closed. And there's really no draw to get anybody back here. But once the reopening started, they actually closed the street off for basically about 3 or 4 restaurants. And they closed the street off and they made it outdoor dining and it was just grand scale, but nothing at this end of the street. And you know what ended up happening? Every single one of those restaurants ended up having to close again because of COVID. And, it's just a double-ended sword and you don't even know where to begin sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I agree. Let's go to, let's talk about, even those of you that weren't on the call last time, as far as, 2 months ago versus today, as far as the changes that you're seeing, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? What's changed in the operation, better, worse?
I'll speak for North Carolina. We've been at 50% occupancy now since June, and it's extended through September 11th. What we've seen is that the restaurants right now, fortunately, are full for us, and most of them around some of the restaurants in our demographic areas. But the to-go business has not gone down. So right now we have continued to try to evolve our to-go program to balance it with the in-store dining, so that the consumer in the restaurant doesn't suffer because of the amount of to-go you're doing on a daily basis. And that's been the biggest challenge. And staffing is still an issue. And we're seeing over the last 2 weeks, suddenly there's a lot of people looking for jobs. But those are the 2 biggest challenges for us right now. But we're seeing some really positive trends.
Well, one of the questions that I was going to get to later, but it kind of segues is, you can add into that question about the to-go, and we've had some restaurants that have added a grocery segment to their business. So it's interesting to see that that's still staying where it's at. You guys seeing the same thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What I could share about us, June was surprisingly well. We were more optimistic than we thought we'd be, certainly leading into the month. And then, then all the spikes happened, early July and after July 4th. And, it certainly put a strain on our operations. And we've seen, I'd say we're more anxious today than we were.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And staffing's been a constant problem for us. Challenge, not a problem, a challenge since day one. You've got the associates that are eager to get back to work, the associates that financially were better off staying out of work up till the last recent weeks here. And then you've got the ones that are fearful to come back to work because of health reasons or whatnot. So it's just been a constant struggle trying to keep the restaurants staffed properly. But throughout it, really, the demand's been there. There's some markets we could do better business if the staffing wasn't such a challenge. So hopefully that continues. But we are, somebody said it earlier, fearful on what happens in the fall and we lose patios and God forbid if this gets worse out there.
Gotcha. Real quick. Oh,
I did something a little bit more drastic. I closed it. I closed High Dive in West Palm Beach. I'm sitting on a decent amount of cash, 50% occupancy capacity with our terrace, with all that stuff, not being able to sit at the bar, not be able to sit at our raw bar. we weren't delivering anywhere near the experience that we wanted to do. I met with my partners and I said, listen, until people start to move again, like there's real movement and people are traveling. We're in a destination center also. So, the hotel across the street, until it's at 70% occupancy, and the Performing Arts Center is geared up, and the convention center across the street from us is geared up and booking conventions and conferences again. I'm happy to stay closed until next October, a year from this October. There's going to be another spike in this thing. I think I told you on the last call that when we were trying to bring people back to reopen after we were allowed to reopen, we had our list of our favorite, servers as an example that we wanted to bring back. And I don't mean their favorites, I mean our best servers. And we got to like number 9 before we got somebody that was willing to come back to work because they're making $875 a week on unemployment. So I just decided I got a deal with my landlord where I'm paying percentage rent only. So 8% of zero is zero. And I have no overhead and I decided not to burn the cash and to bring this concept back when we can open at 100%, not 90, not 75, at 100%, and be able to get the best people in again and be able to run it the way we like to run it and deliver the experience we want to experience.
Awesome. Real quick, guys, Chris just joined the call here. Chris is, I mentioned, from Miller's Ale House. Glad to have you on here again. You are muted, by the way, so we can't hear you. If you wanted to introduce yourself, Chris, there you go.
Hi, everybody. Please pardon my tardiness, but I had one of those COVID grenades thrown at me. I had to dive on it. So I'm here. I'm from Miller's Ale House, Vice President of Operations. And, I heard everything that Doug just said. And, it's tough out there. I mean, this stinks. It sucks. But I don't have the luxury with 7,500 employees in the state of Florida to close the businesses and have this wonderful deal. I would love to know how you cut that deal on percentage rent only. That's fantastic. I'll be an active participant.
Awesome. Well, the question we're on now is all we're talking about is the differences between 2 months ago when we spoke versus now. What's changed? What positives are you seeing? What negatives are you seeing? And also, to-go sales, has that changed any at all? Has it it's staying high? That kind of stuff.
Wow. Well, we were very late getting into the takeout space. It's just something we never really focused on. It was 4% of our sales a year ago. And at the end of 19, we started an initiative to drive takeout. And by February, we were up to 6% with a goal of being at 7% by the end of the year. And we're currently pushing 35% takeout. Wow. And it's been a learning curve with a big menu. And Chili's and Outback and some of the others have played in that space for a long time. And when you're doing 30 grand a week in just to-go business, when you're not used to it, it's like that old Memorex commercial where the guy's getting blown back, But overall, guests they're over it in a lot of ways. They're over the whole COVID thing. They're getting mad at us for making them wear a mask. Because we've decided as a company, even in counties where it's not mandated, we're just doing it. You got to wear a mask, to come in the restaurant. And if you get up to use the restroom, we've got 5 restaurants currently taking temperatures of guests coming in. You get a few people that get really wigged out about it, but it's so few that for every one, there's probably 200 that are patting you on the back saying, man, thanks for going the extra mile. I mean, they really have no problem. The masses have no problem. They think it's a great thing. And we have a lot of restaurants, maybe too much information, but we've got a lot of restaurants that are over last year in sales. And the only difference is we're wearing a mask. We're going out of our way to say the only difference for the customer experience should be that we're wearing a mask and they need to see the smile in your eyes and still have fun, still have a good time. People want to leave their problems at the door. They'll pick them up when they leave. But when they're in Miller's, we're here to entertain them, guide them through the menu, give them a great meal, and give them great service. So working, my division of 35 restaurants last week, I operated at 85% to last year. And that includes 5 serious tourist markets that have no business in them. So or 5 stores, I should say, that have virtually less than half the amount of business. So things are, they're okay. The 50% works for us, but I understand it doesn't work for everybody. And believe it or not, Scott, takeout saved our life.
I believe it. I believe it.
Takeout saved us.
Wow. Now, you guys, I know Mark's been a big proponent of the to-go liquor sales. They have a whole program I'm sure he can tell you about. Do you guys do that too? I don't know if anybody else, any other concepts where there's the to-go liquor?
We are doing a few of our specialty cocktails. Sales are mediocre at best. If Mark has any tidbits, I would love to talk to find out how to get some more of those, because I think they're here to stay.
I hope so.
I don't think the licenses are going to be, the states are going to allow those licenses to exist. When we were open, we bottled our 4 best-selling cocktails, and I sold probably 45% of my takeout, my curbside sales were cocktails and wine and beer. And the bottled cocktails were a huge hit. Put my own label on them and bottled them, and they were a huge hit.
Well, it's one thing to bottle them, but I was at a restaurant maybe March or April, and I picked up a couple pizzas. They asked me if I wanted any drinks, and this is before I even knew what was going on. And she said, "What are you even talking about? The car before you just took 4 mojitos to go." So what? They're just having them in the car in a plastic cup with a straw. So I think that's a different game than the.
That's Louisiana all the way, baby.
Hey, Doug, I would love to see pictures of those bottled drinks. That's cool. Congrats. That's neat.
I'll grab one really quick.
Yeah, they've done a killer job. He's got a special a mixologist of some kind that's prepared this whole program. They do well. There's a restaurant here in town also that does all their old fashions in special jars, and they have their logo on them. So
that's great.
We can't get our esteemed legislature in North Carolina to pass that still. No to-go alcohol sales in North Carolina.
how about in Ohio, Mitch?
Yeah, we can do it. We
Everyone's
just
freaking out about
very
these right now.
marginal demand or success. Ocean Prime's a fine dining restaurant. And I really think people want the experience, to go and bringing home, our food. It's different. It's a completely different experience. So we're seeing not a huge demand on carryout. We're certainly doing more than what we've ever done. We're expanding delivery opportunities, especially going into the fall and winter. We know we're going to need it, but we've been pleasantly surprised. Back in March, I was really scared for the concept. Fine dining in general, you knew the business traveler wasn't going to be out there anymore, and were people going to still go out and celebrate and spend the kind of money they do in our restaurant? And we've been pleasantly surprised with the demand that has been walking in the door really as soon as we got open.
Wow.
Yeah, well, when we were totally shut down, we our to-go sales were great, and we had lines of cars down the block, and it went well. And then we introduced these bottled cocktails, like you said. So we have these, and there's 6 cocktails in one of these, and we made our own labels and things like that. This cocktail is by Spencer Teleferro. He's been amazing. He took our to-go sales from, as far as check averages go, we'd have a $30 check, and the bill, they'd get 3 of these, and they'd end up spending, $100, $200 per car. And it saved our lives before any of the loans came through or anything like that. And we totally lent on our suppliers. So like, for instance, like this is one from Redwood Whiskey. So whoever wanted us, because like literally we were the only people in town doing these at the time. And so if they wanted to be on our to-go cocktail list, they supplied the bottles, they supplied the booze, they supplied our little baggies. We even put all the garnishes in. Papa's Pilar, the guys out of Treaty Oak were huge with us, and a mezcal. I can't remember the brand off the top of my head, but it was really something special. And we really leaned on our suppliers, and they bought all the bottles, everything. All we had to do was get some booze, and it definitely saved our life.
I could see Miller's doing that.
Hey, Mark, can you hold that up? I want to take a quick picture.
Sure.
What drink is that, by the way?
That's
This
awesome.
is this is actually from brunch last week. We just had it made up. It's like a coffee, like a coffee cocktail that we used. You know, some fresh coffee, and I don't remember what he put in it, but that's like we did them for brunch too. So we had like our normal cocktails, and we had a whole brunch concept. Like we would sell a bottle of champagne and orange juice. We would sell Bloody Mary kits, mimosa kits, you know, just depending on what day it was.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Any other positives? Anything that you guys have seen in the last 2-3 months? Other to-go sales obviously is a big one. Anything in particular?
Yeah, people are starting to come back finally. I mean, we had our best week since March last week, and we only added one shift to it. We're only doing Thursday all day, Friday all day, Saturday night, and Sunday brunch right now, and we saw our best week that we've had, you know.
Yeah, I would say that people are coming back in droves and they're willing to wait. Like Chris, we're having great success. We were at 94% of last year this past week, and we've been trending above 90% for the last 30 days. So we feel good about where we're going. I tend to side with Doug, though. I think we're going to see another outbreak at some point, especially with all these universities going back, and it's just to see how the municipalities and the state governments handle it moving forward. We're just hoping we don't go backwards and we at least stay where we are through the end of the year, if not move forward.
Well, congrats on your 94%. That's exceptional.
It's really, and I'll tell you, Chris, the one thing is in the Charlotte market is where we're getting crushed. And that's simply because Mecklenburg County said, you can't sit at a bar. You can't serve a guest a drink at a bar. And oh, by the way, everybody has to be out of your restaurant at 11 p.m., no exceptions. And that's more restrictive than the rest of the state. So we're seeing increases in the rest of the state and down tremendously in our two biggest volume stores. It's interesting, but thank you.
Well, maybe your governor should take some direction from ours, because the bars are suing the state of Florida, who've been closed for over 3 months, and the numbers have doubled. So it's not happening at the bars.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing here. The bars are suing the governor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, breweries are all over them.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to get started on Florida's governor at this time.
I knew that was coming, Doug. I knew.
Well,
I
Florida.
will say this though, when we were open and before we closed, we weren't, we're a fish restaurant and it doesn't necessarily travel so well. The delivery and curbside that we were doing these family meal packages, and they sold really well. It was when the playing field got leveled, meaning the restaurants opened up again, and not everybody was doing curbside, that those sales kind of fell off because people had been cooped up for 3 months and wanted to get out for a change. But look, we're in this hotbed of COVID-19 here in the state of Florida, and it's summer, which is also for a lot of us is off season, right? And so you combine that with the lack of traffic, the lack of people going out, now where everybody is scared again. And it's just not a business environment that's conducive to kind of continue, in our opinion, to continuing our operation the way it was going.
Yeah, August and September are always our worst months. One, it's too damn hot. Two, school starts, and it's just August, September. I can't wait to see what happens this month.
I'll tell you what I'm starting to see out of Florida as well. We're starting to see an applicant flow coming out of South Florida, specifically managers looking to move out of the market and go somewhere else.
Wow.
Even at the hourly employee level, we're starting to see, oh, well, I just moved here from Florida. And that's a scary trend for you guys down there. And, as an organization, Max is looking to someday come to Florida. So we're monitoring those things closely, but we are seeing some applicant flow out of South Florida right now.
I'll send you some information on a great agency.
Well, it's funny how this all works though, too, because at the beginning of all of this, all the Northeasterners were coming down to Florida to get out of the New York hotbed and all of that. And our realtors our realtors were telling us they had a record months. April, May, and June were record months in the sales of 7-figure plus homes in Palm Beach and Broward counties. And now it's like flipped, right? Everybody is moving out. By the way, also Shang, there's not a ton of real talent down here in Florida, especially elevated dining. So good luck with those folks too.
I hear you, brother. I hear you on that.
So Shang, you mentioned something about the applicant flow. Are you guys seeing managers leaving the industry?
Not on my team as of yet, but oddly enough, I'm seeing applicants jump back into the industry that left for a while, and now they're jumping back in, which is weird. Scott, Evan has someone for me today that was out of the restaurant industry for the last 5 years and jumping back in. But Mitch, not yet. We're not seeing that on our team.
We do see it a lot from candidates right now that, like Doug was saying, they were making $875 a week. So they kind of rode that out for a while, and then all of a sudden, they're going to go work for their dad, or they're going to go work for the post office. So it is interesting. So
Yeah, we've always prided ourselves on extremely low management turnover, and this has just been surprising. Yeah, and they're just leaving the industry. For us, as a company of 33 restaurants, we probably had a dozen managers just decide to go do something else, which is just startling from our take. Understandable, but startling. Just another challenge of this whole results of COVID.
no doubt. Any of you guys? Somebody asked a question below. Any of you guys doing any of that family meal type stuff? We've got a couple concepts here in town. There's one in particular. It's like $45 to $50. You get 6 4-ounce salmon fillets. You get enough mashed potatoes for your neighborhood. You get like a Caesar for $6 and a dessert for $6, something like that. You guys doing anything like that?
God, are you referring to like kind of take it and bake it, like bring it home and make
No.
the food?
We do have those too, but no, this is just
Okay.
instead of ordering for you, you're ordering for 4, 5, 6 people, and it's already cooked.
Yeah, we have a few of those family meals ranging from $49 to $59, and it's a couple racks of ribs and 70 fried shrimp, or a couple racks of ribs and our zingers, or a burger platter, and they sell okay. They started off stronger, but as Doug had mentioned, as everybody else started like jumping on the bandwagon, it kind of watered it down a little bit. But they still sell. I mean, we're keeping them around.
Yeah, they seem to be a big hit.
We're selling probably 25 a week across the brands, and like Chris has seen, it's gone down as more people get into it, but it's just another opportunity to get in front of the guests. One thing on our side that we've had tons of success, and we're in the $20,000 range on it right now, is we've created packages for people who want to donate to frontline workers, and all they have to do is pay for it. We box it, deliver it, everything. They tell us where they want it to go. And we're now in the $20,000 range on that, when just people call and say, here's my credit card. I want you to feed Atrium Health in Ballantyne today. That's been a really successful revenue stream, and something we believe that's part of why we're not only our value proposition, but we believe, again, keeping ourselves relevant in the community and the community has helped us. My internet connection. Let me plug it in.
Okay. Back to you, Shang. Some people are wondering, as far as hitting that 90% at 50% occupancy, what's the magic?
The magic is making sure you deliver every day on the brand promise. And when you look at our sales, other than the Charlotte market, our stores that we know from guest metrics are delivering on the brand promise are trending up in sales. And our couple of stores that we know don't deliver on the brand promise every day, they're down in sales. So our goal is to make sure that we deliver on our brand promise each and every day. And I think as long as you do that, whatever your brand commitment is to your communities, you'll continue to see that the sales are coming back, because they know they can count on you for the experience that they're looking for every time they come.
Gotcha.
I would echo Shang's passion on that one. You know, one thing I failed to mention was third party delivery. You know, a couple weeks ago, we fired up Uber Eats, and on day one, it just went off the chart. You know, we negotiated a good deal for us, and we changed our prices accordingly, what have you. But it's amazing. It's amazing how much that added to, without even trying. I mean, on day one, you had restaurants getting 20 extra orders. I'm not talking about 20 dishes. I'm talking about 24 tops. And, you know, some of the restaurants are doing $5,000 to $8,000 a week in additional sales just on Uber Eats.
I know.
Do you
Mark,
have,
you had some issues, didn't you, Mark?
say it one more time, please?
Didn't you have some issues with the third parties?
Yeah, we did, especially Postmates and these kind of littler guys. They, you know, they just put you on their platform without even knowing about it. And if a customer would call in an order to them, they charge their credit card. Postmates would charge the delivery driver's credit card with enough money to pay for that bill. Well, then the customer calls Postmates back and they cancel. Then that money's pulled directly off their card. We have to eat it. So that was a big problem I had for a couple of weeks. I mean, it wasn't a big problem. It probably happened 4 or 5 times, but it's 4 or 5 times too many, especially when you're not asking to be on their platform or anything. We don't have, I don't have the luxury of being able to just take that 30 to 60% of what they take off the dish. I just wouldn't be able to afford it.
Hey, Mark, is anyone in your legislature pushing like other states for 10% cap on delivery fees? That's something I'm trying to work with our restaurant association on in North Carolina to cap it at 10%.
I have not heard of that, but I will definitely look into that.
Yeah, some states have already done it, and DC did it as well. But there is a collective push out there to cap delivery fees.
Now, do you guys have, when you deal with these third party, is there a totally separate menu, or is it just the pricing that's changed? You have the same menu, but you change the pricing on, say, Uber Eats or whatever on that menu?
For Max, we did a little of both. The things that we know aren't very portable, we just took them off the online platform. And then, you know, anywhere from 50 cents to $1 price increase through the delivery platform to pay for your to-go containers, your to-go silverware, all those things, plus a little bit of the delivery fees as well.
Okay.
Hey, Shang, I've got a question for you. I mean, that's real interesting that in North Carolina, you're talking to government. When you say a cap on delivery fees, is that a cap on just your delivery or commission? Or
Commission.
both?
Commission.
On commission, okay.
That's something I think as an industry, we need to all collectively get together and push out. You know, even if it's just through your 50% occupancy phase, and when you're back at 100%, then whatever. But you know, these guys are making money hand over fist right now, and
couldn't agree more.
Capitalist society, we need to push this envelope.
Yeah, and that piece of business isn't going anywhere regardless of what capacity changes happen down the road. It's still going to be a major player in our industry.
Correct.
This is an interesting question here. I mean, obviously, Chris, you've got a lot of restaurants in Florida, although you guys are growing quite a bit in Pennsylvania, Illinois, New York area, New Jersey. But for those that have, you know, like Shang, you guys are going to go into Florida, and Mitch, you guys are, you know, you've got a store in Tampa, but you've got several stores in Ohio. What are your thoughts on having restaurants in hot spots right now versus ones that are, I guess, not, so to speak? You seeing a big difference?
Yeah, from my perch, yeah, I mean, you kind of go through the whole emotional roller coaster. We saw in Tampa, I referred to it earlier, June was great. Tampa was doing probably 85 to 90% of last year's sales. And then they probably, the worst it got there might have been 65%, but it was a quick drop when things spiked real heavily in Florida. And now it's bounced back, and they've done well. And our associates gone on the same roller coaster of kind of being a little bit fearless to being very concerned about their safety. And, we mandated, I forget who said it, Shane, we mandated masks in municipalities, whether it was mandated by state or local or not. And we did that before it happened in Tampa. And just to show our associates that we were doing something, above and beyond what was mandated by CDC guidelines and health department guidelines to protect our associates' safety. And, so it's just a constant roller coaster kind of everywhere. And depending on what happens in that market, you deal with it. And it spiked in Florida, so we dealt with it in Florida. So when it hit Ohio, we already had, at least some experience on dealing with those challenges from the guests and the associates. But you got to kind of let it play out a little bit. You got to understand the associates' anxiety. Can't make it go away. So we've had to close some restaurants in Columbus because our associates were fearful to work because we had a positive case. And we've always prided ourselves on following CDC guidelines and doing everything right. And our restaurants are very safe. We get plenty of comments from our guests about it, but there was a disparity on what restaurateurs were doing when you had a positive case. Some were closing to clean, some were just going on and doing, and CDC guidelines were one thing and people were doing others. And if you weren't doing what the next guy was, your associates would look at you like you weren't doing enough, even though we were following guidelines. So we went through that whole roller coaster of emotion as well. And that kind of played itself out as well.
I mean, I know it's not necessarily under your umbrella, but you find the same thing on the Rusty Bucket side as well?
Yeah, they've been very fortunate. They didn't have some of the staffing challenges we've had just because of, actually, no. They had it worse because, their associates on their check average were making more money than what they typically made, where, in an Ocean Prime, our servers are very well compensated with $100 plus check average. So, but the bucket, to a lesser degree, they've been kind of a little bit, I don't want to jinx them, a little immune to some of the challenges we felt. Not sure why.
Gotcha. All right. Any other thoughts on that? Oh, any thoughts on that topic? Question here on the board here. Are any of you fully staffed or still running all units on less managers or less hourlies?
Speaking for us here, I have 3 total servers on my schedule. I have myself, and I'm keeping my sous chef employed at this time. Most of my other guys have other jobs, so I'm taking care of the guys that are full-time with me at the moment. And I have a bartender, 2 bartenders. So I have 10 total staff members right now, where I had pre-COVID, I had 35.
Wow.
Yeah, we had 61 when we were open before COVID, and when we reopened after the first shutdown with COVID, we had 11.
So market to market, it's different. Unfortunately, Scott, for you, I'm fully staffed with managers. All managers came back. But when it comes to team members, again, market to market. But in a lot of the restaurants, I say to my regional managers, my general managers, that if we were to get the blessing tomorrow to open 100%, we're not staffed to do it. We're just not. So we couldn't do it. People are sitting on the couch making great money. I know that's over. The applications have picked up, but it's still alive and well out there. A lot of people still afraid. So market to market, it's definitely different. The Panhandle of Florida, it's terrible. When it comes to the East Coast of Florida right now, in our restaurants, Eastern Orlando, we're overstaffed for some reason. We could do it, but primarily, no, we're not.
I have a question for you. Did you have any pickup in business when Disney reopened or any of the theme parks reopened in that area?
For the 2 restaurants that benefit the most, yes. And mostly from Disney team members. I mean, certainly there was more timeshares being used, but the team members getting hours and everything, they come in late night, 7 days a week. I get manager notes, and 7 days a week they're saying, wow, the Disney crowd just has not slowed down, meaning the team members, the cast members. So good question. Yes.
Interesting.
Does that worry your staff? You figure all the people that these guys are around? I mean, that just seems almost scary to me sometimes. But I guess if you're taking the proper precautions, it doesn't matter.
Well, our Disney locations are 2 of the ones taking temperatures and
very good.
masks. But no pushback from the staff. The staff that came back to work, no pushback at all.
I mean, the real big picture question here, Scott, is what does this all look like? What's the reset look like for everybody?
And when?
You know, what have we done to make our businesses more profitable at the 90% than they were before we went into this crisis? Because, as you know, it's a thin margin business. Everybody knows this. And the real question is, are we taking this time, as everybody on this call, what are we doing during this time to kind of reformat our labor footprint as an example, and our menu items as an example, and the number of items on the menu, how much prep we're doing as compared to what sells on the sales mix every day, the product mix every day. That's the real question here, is because if we come back and we're in the same place we were when we started, even at 90% or 100%, we're still not an entirely profitable business. So my real question to the audience, to the group, is what are we doing differently that we could talk about the definition of insanity 100 times, but really, if we're not taking steps back and going, how do we do this differently? And how are we going to make this more advantageous for us as owners, operators, that at the end of the day, we can generate more revenue, more profits, better service, cleaner restaurants? If we haven't are not taking this time, I think the industry is going to be back to where it was, and we're going to, 40% of the restaurants may go out of business. And honestly, I see that as a huge opportunity for me and my company, because I want to buy restaurants right now. I'm only going to buy them if I can get percentage rent, by the way, at least for the time being, until there's a vaccine. I'm only going to do them if I can get percentage rent. But I don't want to be the one that's swooping in, scooping up people's lives and livelihoods that have been destroyed because of this crazy outbreak. But we got to do it differently going forward. Otherwise, we're going to be in this boat. Look, let's call a spade, so to speak. This pandemic thing is going to happen again. And I'm not even talking about COVID. There's going to be another bioterror. Who knows what's going to happen, right? Going down the road. I'm not saying I'm banking on that, but obviously not. But we've got to be ready for something like this. To how do we treat this in the future? How do we write our leases differently? So when there's a government mandated shutdown, we're not having to pay rent, right?
Well, then let me ask you: Are you still doing quite a bit of consulting then right now?
Oh yeah, I picked up 3 huge clients during all of this.
So my question to you:
business that I was doing before this.
Well, so if people come to you now and they ask you the same question, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say you got to really analyze your sales mix, your product mix, and see what's selling. Get rid of all the chaff on the menu that doesn't need to be there, and analyze it by what's it's the 80-20 theory, Scott, right? 20% of your menu items are going to give you 80% of your margin, right? Now, how do you get those margins? Look, in Florida, we're lucky we have a tip credit. But you know what? Honestly, guys, I think all that's going to go away soon too. We're going to have a minimum wage that's going to be not a friendly tip credit minimum wage. Yeah. And servers are kind of our cheapest labor. So there's no point in doing it with less servers, right? The idea is, how do we do this with less, honestly, less culinary less back of the house talent, how do you hone your menu to a place where you're getting, where you have what you need or a little bit more than what you need in order to make your guests extremely happy, but your mise en place is in your prep and your production and all of that is kind of really minimized and right-sized for your offering. That's the real culinary labor is 65% of our entire restaurant's labor. And really it's between the labor cost in there and the rent, occupancy, total occupancy, that's where most restaurants miss it. All the other stuff, I think we're really good at managing, paper supplies and all those operating supplies, but we really, really miss it when it comes to back of the house labor and of course, occupancy structure.
Yep, I agree.
I would add on to, I think those are all great points, Doug. I'd add on the work-life balance of managers in the industry. There's been, unfortunately, people were out of work and they got to see that what's most important in life. And now that they're back to work, nobody wants to go back to that grind of working 60 to 70 hours a week every night. They've seen the other side and they don't necessarily want to leave the industry, but they don't want to go back in that same rut that they were in prior, and their priorities have changed, rightfully so. So, the industry has to adapt to that or we're going to lose all those good people as well.
Well, Nick, you're right. And also the backflow, the bench of the millennials that are coming into this industry, they don't want to do that work.
Right.
They don't want to do that work. We're like in real trouble here as an industry as a whole. We're in real trouble here, right? When it comes to talent pool and labor. It's going to get worse before it gets better, a lot worse, I think.
Chris, you were looking to say something, I thought there?
Well, Doug's question is how are we going to get better on the other side? And, Doug being in Palm Beach, you probably know the name Jack Miller.
Yeah, of course. He was my
Okay.
business partner in my first restaurant.
Okay. So, I worked with Jack for years and years and he taught me so much, but he always said, run it like you own it. Run it like you own it, So we've gone from in 2019 being fat and happy to 2020 being lean and scrappy. And now run it like you own it is now defined. Do you plunge that toilet and give it your best shot, or do you call a $150 plumber? Do you fire up all the grills at 9 o'clock in the morning, or do you wait till 10:45 and then start prep? Cutting back the menu a little bit and alleviating some prep hours. I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts, and we're figuring it out. But the work-life balance of managers, we've now been on a couple of years. You're not working 60 hours, and if you're working 60 hours, I'm going to write you up. But you're going to give me 50 and you're going to be busting your ass on those 50. Give me 50 good, hard, productive hours. So being the lean and scrappy, we're having our cake and eating it too. We are figuring it out. But I do see we're going back to fat and happy as sales go up. Cleaning crews are now 7 days a week versus they cut them back. Some of the restaurants 3 and 4. And now they've got this, and just this morning I was checking on, when I say check, I mean like check, checking my guys. Saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're not being, lean and scrappy anymore. This is kind of a way of life. Run it like you own it would be my answer. I mean, Mark, I know you run it like you own it. You just described what you're doing, keeping a guy around, and you had 35, and now you only have a couple. I mean, that's how you come out the other side, like Mark's doing.
Well, that's a really good point, Chris. We had 9/11, unfortunately, to deal with the after effects of 9/11. And we had the economic crisis in 2008 and 2009. And we, even in my hotel business, the creep that comes back after any one of these disasters, it's amazing how short term our memories are when it comes to when we really do know how to run it lean. And it run it like you own it worries me, because if you put a lot of these people in business and it was their business, they would, it would be one of those businesses that I would end up getting at a discount after they're done screwing it up, because the truth is most of these companies only teach managers to run the business their way, right? The way they need it run from their SOP manual. They don't teach them how to run a business and how to negotiate a credit card discount, how to talk to banks and landlords and all that. So we've had 2 experiences before COVID-19 that have taught us that we can be lean and do a great job being lean. And this is the third one. The real question is, when we come out of this again, how many more of these pandemics or crises do we need to have before we just disallow the creep to allow its way back into our operations? And that's the real key. Chris, you said it right. The cleaning crew goes from 4 nights to 7 nights all of a sudden because business is good again. They figured out how to do it with 4 nights, but why wouldn't they keep it at that, right? Because we're getting fat again, right?
Exactly.
And not even out of it yet.
Exactly.
I feel with you guys. You know, I'm kind of the smaller kid on the block, but the menus are going to have to get smaller. I kind of pride myself on using the freshest ingredients and not buying store-bought stuff. And let's face it, we're all crazy for getting in the restaurant business anyway. It takes a different person to do that and to do it day in and day out. And like you said, with the hours that people are working, I've experienced too. I've got a 1.5-year-old son. I've got a daughter that's going to be born in November. We just put a pool in. I've been spending a lot of time doing that. I like it. I like the time off. But now it just requires me, since we're only open a few days a week, that it's a lot more work when I'm here than it used to be, but it's more prideful. I'm still on limited menus. I do 2 menus a week. I do one for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I have a Sunday brunch menu. And compared to my full menu, it's half the size. I want to say there's 18 total items on the menu. That includes apps and a soup. But that's how I feel that Made is going to be able to come through this, is smaller menus, better prep work, and getting back to basics as far as kitchen help goes. And I'm just going to have to put in more work, unfortunately, but I'm ready for it.
I have a question for the panel. Have any of you experimented with 4-day work weeks?
We did when we first opened, we went to 80% pay, and then we went to 80% work, you know, so which kind of was a double-edged sword, because as business ramped up, we made some promises, or, you know, that our managers took literally and didn't want to go back to that 5-day work week. So now we're back at, we're back at 90%, but expect everybody to work their normal, whatever it takes. You know, if you could get away with a 45-hour work week, you know, good for you. And if it takes you 60, that's what we expect as well. But so it was for a brief time that we did it.
I mean, we have to become a 5-day-a-week industry to start with. I would like to get to a 4-day for managers down the road, but we really need to become a 5-day work week business industry before we can really look. We know they're long days. Look, some of our restaurants, your restaurants, some serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There could be open 18 or 20 hours a day, and it's hard to, you know, you got to do revenue and you got to do sales in order to afford the kind of $1 million, one manager per $1 million benchmark that I look to do. So I think that we've got to really become a 5-day work week. And I agree with, 5 10-hour days. Chris was talking about a managed work. I really insist that my managers work at least 5 10-hour days. Look, sometimes it's 12. And if they want to leave early on one day because it's slower and they worked a 12-hour day on Thursday, they can do that. I don't really want to manage their hours. I want to leave it to their judgment and the judgment of the GM to manage his and her people, to give them the work-life balance that they need. But that's one of the things about our industry is we're not a balanced work-life industry, and we need to become that.
I agree. There's a question here on the Q&A. Are you hopeful Congress will approve NRA's blueprint for recovery? How many of you need additional government assistance in order to survive the rollbacks, customer awareness, and balloon payments for deferred rent? That's a big question.
So let me read that question again. Scott, run that back by me.
Are you hopeful Congress will approve NRA's blueprint for recovery? How many of you need additional government assistance in order to survive the rollbacks, customer wariness, and balloon payments for deferred rent.
Well, yeah, I think we're all hopeful that Congress is going to pass the stimulus that we need. And I think, I can't speak for everybody on this call, but we all need to figure out how we can take advantage of that if and when it becomes available. And we should be using the stimulus and the resource of the government to help industry recover. As far as the payback of that is concerned, look, a lot of us don't want to add debt onto our balance sheets at this point either, because the future is so uncertain. I mean, once we're at 100% again as an industry and as a society where people are moving, they're traveling, they're going out to eat, and we're kind of back and there's a vaccine, it becomes a little bit easier to kind of forecast what you can afford to pay back. But I think, and certainly I would be taking advantage of, and I have taken advantage of every portion of the stimulus package that can become available. We've taken our PPP and we've got an economic injury disaster loan as well. And by the way, for me to go back to my partners, I'd rather have a 2.75% loan on my books than going back to my partners and having them dilute all the equity in our business as well. So we think we can afford to take the stimulus, and we plan to do it. And if more becomes available, we'll probably do that as well, because at the end, it's just going to guarantee the longevity of our business. And that's what this is about to me. This is a marathon, our business is a marathon, not a sprint. I've got a 20-year lease, more or less, in our restaurants, and I plan to be there for the long haul. And this hopefully, for all of us on this call, hopefully will be just a hiccup that we'll look back on in 3 or 4 years and we'll go, you remember when? And we'll all be thriving because we were able to have the government back us also in our attempts to kind of recover. And that's a huge thing, because there's no safety net here. I mean, look, the airlines were buying stock back for the last 5 years, and now they need stimulus. They shouldn't be able to buy back stock and make themselves richer at the same time and have us, through our taxes, have to bail them out. The restaurant industry is much more needy and much more important to our society than the airline industry. I mean, people are going to go out, been going out to eat for centuries, and are going to continue to do it. And we need to keep this going. Our industry needs to keep going and keep moving and keep improving, but also keep developing and keep innovating, because who knows what's going to be next.
Well, like you said prior, it's where do we see ourselves in 3, 4, 5 months? I mean, that was kind of the point of this all. Like, no one has a crystal ball, but what's your thoughts on? I mean, like you mentioned, there, more than likely another spike or surge, whatever you want to call it. But where do you guys see things in November, December, if you had to project?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm working on plans to enclose my patios one way or the other. I don't believe we're going anywhere anytime soon.
Smart.
I'm just going to figure out how to capitalize on what seating I have available, including what's outside, and just roll with the punches.
Wow. Yeah. Kind of like last time we talked about some of the things that people were doing. You guys, or some people were just now starting with, like the QR codes on their menus. One of the calls we had, I think it was before this one, where we, Chef Phelps was joking around about, we're going to end up with, bring your own silverware. It's like, where do we see this going? People bring their own chopsticks, so they can bring their own silverware. So I guess I'm just curious where you guys see it going. I think the enclosed patio is a brilliant idea, especially for the places that are cold.
I think the QR code, I don't think that's going away. In our concept, when we open up a new restaurant, we spend 30 grand on menu books, and I don't see that being necessary in the future. There's no need for it. And, we're challenging our web team to make our websites more interactive, so the QR code is easier to access and markets the brand the way it's supposed to be, just like if you had that menu in your hand. So I think that's not going to go away regardless if COVID leaves us or not. And I think it's great. We just introduced pay at the table the same way with the QR code. We've been looking to do that actually for years, and this just presented the opportunity where it was more necessary to move quicker, obviously, to get it in place. And, that's another thing that's not going to go away. So there's good things that came out of this that make us more efficient, will make us better, to your point, Doug. I don't know if it makes up for the rest of it, but there are some good things that will make the industry better down the road.
Absolutely.
As long as it's done right. I mean, just as a consumer, and I've gone out very few times. And the one time we went to brunch here in town, and they had the QR code on the table, and then in addition, they had paper menus. And I asked the server what they're going to do with those menus, and she said, sometimes we throw them away, and sometimes we don't. And so, well, that
Welcome to the restaurant business.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the manager was right there. So, but it is interesting. I mean, some people are having the QR codes on the what do you call it? Like on the where you carry out your curbside. You can scan it right there and order it while you're waiting. So, but there's been some good positives, that's for sure. Oh, sorry, Mark, you got something?
Yeah, just as far as the QR code things go, unfortunately, I do have paper menus still, and we have to throw them away every time. And I'm lucky to be just that small place where my manager basically is the host or the hostess daily. I only have one on Sunday brunch, and I don't think you can do a QR code for like a limited menu, or am I wrong on that? You can do it because I change it so often?
It's easy.
Yeah.
You could do a QR code in 5 minutes
I think it depends on your point of sale as well.
Well, plus I didn't even do it through my point of sale. I did it through my website. So I just put my menu on my website, and the QR code takes people to our website, and then they can open it on the website. So updating the menu on the website is really easy.
Okay, I'll have to do that. I appreciate that insight, guys.
Awesome. Any parting words, any thoughts? I think this was awesome. I'd love to do it again, maybe in 2-3 months. Hopefully we're at a different place. Hopefully there's not been a spike, and hopefully you were wrong, but who knows? But this is a great panel. So if you guys have any other thoughts, questions, concerns?
Keep fighting the fight. Try to innovate every day and adapt to what's going on in your market.
Yep.
Yep.
Well said.
I'm with Shane.
LIVIN.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Mitch, tell Steve Weiss I said hello.
Absolutely.
We worked together many years ago.
Okay. Good guy. Great guy.
Yep.
Hold on. Someone said there's a question, and
There's 3.
there's 3. I can't even do it. New openings. Anybody have any new openings coming that'll happen before the end of the year? I know Chris answered a little bit there.
Yeah, we have 2 restaurants that are fully built and fully stocked. One's been ready since on March 20th. I had to go in there and stop training and say, we're going to open when we open. So that restaurant's now going to open September 7th in Orlando. And then we have one in Hyattsville, Maryland that will open before the end of the year. We were having 12 this year. And, well, a lot of them got pushed into 21 or beyond.
I just saw that question. Sorry. Yeah, we joked about that last time about the doing a Miller's Ale House, a quick casual concept, and calling it Zingers.
Zinger Hut.
Yeah.
Zinger.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate all your time.
Thank you, everyone.
You guys are all in that email thread if you guys want to correspond and get your to-go bottles or your QR codes or awesome. So thanks again.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
You bet.